Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's October the 2nd, 2024, with Brother Phil, Brother Amir. We would wake up everybody. Brother Phil, we've been gone for a minute. We back on it. I got a quick question. It's been on my mind. This election is coming up. It's around the corner. People feel the way they feel. But why is it that we the only group that feels as though, at least that I see, that we waiting for whoever gets in office to do us all these different types of favors, right? Or we waiting for them to throw the pole out so they could save us. Whereas I look at the Asians, I look at the East Indians, I look at the Latinos. It don't make a difference who in office. They got a game plan. They stick to their game plan. If they got to make adjustments, they make their adjustments. But it's business as usual for them. With us, I think it seems as though it's been thrown at us so much that you got to depend on the government. You got to depend on the government. Who's going to do this for you? Who's going to do that for you? I never hear no debates. I never hear any of whoever the president is. We're doing this for the Asians. We're doing this for the Latinos. We're doing this for this group or that group. It's always the black folks, right? Versus us, we got enough money. We got enough intellect. We got enough professionals in every aspect, white collar, blue collar. We got enough entrepreneurs. When is it that we could say, wait a minute, time out? It don't make a difference who there. The game plan that we got, we going whether we got to adjust or not, we still going to move forward. We going to march forward. And the reason why I bring this up is just 2 weeks ago, brother Jalen Brown for the Boston Celtics. Everybody came at him for a sneaker deal. Everybody came at him for a sneaker deal, and a major sneaker deal. But he said confidently, thank you for the gestures and the offers. I'm creating my own. I'm going to employ my own, and I'm going to do it my way. I applauded the brother. I know he's going to be successful. I'm pretty sure, I hope and pray that some of these other brothers, whether it be in the football game, the baseball game, the basketball game, the track and field game, the boxing game, take that approach and either do it their way or come together and have different lines, underneath the different sports arenas. What's your take?
Okay, I'm glad you brought that one up. So, unfortunately, we have an issue amongst our own where, and this is something I'm sure you've heard and I've heard it, is just like hearsay out there that we don't work well with one another, right? I know I'm tired of hearing it. I've been hearing it practically my whole life. And everything you just pointed out about, we're waiting for someone, right? Do people know? And I'm just putting this out here in the air. I know you know, right? It says all of your elected officials work for you, not themselves. And I had just put this on my timeline on social media, right? And then, this is, you're big on this one, brother. I know this is what I love saying it, right? So, to answer everything you said, we as a people, I don't know why, but here we are in 2024, less than 30-something days away from an election for the next U.S. president. There's all kinds of stuff going on. But at the end of the day, you mentioned the Hispanics, the East Indians, of course the Asians. What they've done is cooperative economics, man. They're brought up doing it. It's a part of them. Something in us, and this is not to get away from what we're talking about, but Diddy got a lot of stuff going on right now. A majority of our people, if you go on social media, that's what we appear to be talking about. I'm not saying everybody, but that's a big thing. That man and his issues and whatever's going on, that will take care of itself through the court system. And all involved will hopefully get whatever they're supposed to get if everything that's stated is correct. We need to be focused on how is your family going to survive economically in the, whatever the new president is. Because it really doesn't matter who's in there. We as a people have to demand what we want. You have to send a state senator, not a state senator, a senator from your state up to DC to work for you.
Mhm.
You also have to send the congressman from your district. He or she works for you.
Right.
They do your work in DC. It is not the president. And I don't understand it. I know people are, you got to vote for that. No, you better vote for the senator. We're in Georgia.
Mhm.
Warnock and Ossoff. Those are the two senators from the state of Georgia.
Right.
Those are the ones that we need to speak to on a direct basis. They go to DC and do your bidding for you.
Right.
If they don't get the job done, you get them up out of there. Plain
That's
and
right.
simple. Plain and simple. We live in Georgia, but we have family in other states.
Mhm.
But the reality is, where we live, where we spend our money, this is where we need to see the change.
Right.
Right? So we've got to become more educated on actually politics. I don't understand it. I know when I talk to people, I'm not wasting no energy on Trump, Kamala Harris, none of them. Doesn't really matter.
Mhm.
Ossoff, and as I said, Warnock, if you live in Georgia.
Mhm.
If you live in another state, whoever those two senators are, those are the people you need to have a direct relationship with.
Right. Right.
And you need to know what they do, what they vote on.
Right.
For us on the local level, who you spend your money with, your elected sheriff who runs the sheriff's department in your town or your county. He or she is responsible for the crime issues.
Mhm.
He's elected. A police chief is a what do you call it? The police chief is actually chosen by the mayor,
Mhm.
right? So he works underneath the sheriff.
Mhm.
Your sheriff is important because he's elected. Your state senator for the state you live in, your district rep for the area of the state that you live in. These are the people you should have on your first name basis. They ought to know who you are if you're a concerned citizen. You can't escape politics.
Mhm.
But the only way we're going to get what we want and we're able to effectively work like those other communities that you mentioned, we have to educate ourselves on these people, right? Think about all the money that we put as a people, right, into just consumerism.
Mhm.
Imagine if we curtailed that spending, found ourselves an individual that we groom, male or female, that has that gift of gab, his or her ability to articulate, our concerns on a political level.
Mhm.
Very important. You just can't have some Joe Blow up there
Mhm.
that every time you hear about corruptness, because this guy or this woman is spending money that he or she is collecting from the constituency, all you do is vote him out. Period.
Mhm.
That is really the deal. This stuff with Trump, I personally don't like the guy, but at the end of the day, if we got a country of 80 million people and 41 million people want the guy, then he'll be the one running the country. But if the Senate decides they don't want nothing to do with old dude, he can't do anything
Right. Right.
at all. We have to learn how politics work, and we have to become involved whether we like it or not. And to your point, Brother Amir, that I've witnessed more so, say, in recent years here in Metro Atlanta, the East Indian people, the Asian people, Hispanic people, they're doing what they need to do.
Right.
And you don't even hear them worrying about who's going into office. Because at the end of the day, I have to go show up wherever I work each day to earn my keep. If I'm doing extra things outside of work to generate an income, that's my responsibility to do that and get that money. Where I spend it, it's on me.
That's right.
That's the key. So yeah, it is disappointing to see how we function politically, and then like you said, we're watching these people like they're our savior. As a black man, 60 years old, been 42 years watching what these people do, say since 18. I have yet to see one of these people that became the president, and this is not disrespectful to President Obama because I understand hands were tied, but there's not a single one of them that has really done anything for people of color.
To improve the overall lifestyle.
When you go and when you look in any community that's considered, unfortunately, ours, they look the same as they looked in 1958.
Mm-hmm.
When they reference the hood, no one's referencing a great neighborhood where you see good things. They're referencing the negativity,
Right.
and we appear to glorify that through music and all kinds of other stuff. That's on us.
Movies, and we promote it and we support it and we tolerate it, right? And then if you speak out about it, it's like you hating on that person or that group's individual or collectively success. It's just bizarre to me to just think that in 2024, the age that we are and the lives that we live, that the generation of our folks, as well as the ones behind us, are still talking about what are these folks going to do for us, right? We are not talking about what we could do for ourselves collectively. You know what I mean? I just think about, okay, just think about what we're on right now. You know, social media, platform. You're able to put out content for people to watch, view, give their point of view. So this, like, we just took some of the top ones since 2020, because really this really took off, you know, when COVID hit, where people were indoors, you know, and they wanted to get content out to the masses of people. When you think about some of the, we don't even have to name them, but you think about the big boys that are got millions and millions of followers. Why don't you team up, since you got all this information, to help people start businesses, find housing, you know, improve your health, whatever the situation may be. You got millions and millions of followers. You mean to tell me you all know each other, but you don't want to come together, everybody doing their own thing? I got to have the biggest podcast. If I come to your town, I got to charge the most amount of money for the general public to come and view what we got to say. But there's no conversation about, let's all be at the table together. Let's all eat together. But the information that we have, we can put this out to the collective masses of people, because they all know who we are now. You know, they all watch us, they all follow us. It's all a conversation. People are watching social media more than they're watching the TV outlets. But it's an individual thing. I got my group, you got your group. It's me and you against him and her. You know what I mean? It's amazing just to sit back and think that all these different avenues today that we didn't have 20 years ago. We ain't talking about when we was teenagers, just 20 years ago, right? This is at our snap of a finger. We could watch it on our phones. We could watch it on our computers. You know, we could watch it on our TVs. We could watch all this everywhere and get it out to the masses. But the ones that got the largest following, it's all individualism. And they know it. They know how to get us, and we fall right for the trap every single time.
And one of the things, bro, when you just mentioned those folks that have the larger followings based on, you know, social media in this day and age. One of the reasons I know we decided to do what we're doing and have these conversations about wake up, because we want people to understand the power is in you. You know what I'm saying? You have the ability. I know somebody you don't know. You know somebody I don't know. That's two other people. Those two people that we know somebody we don't know, and the math just grows.
Right.
So on the strength of, like, you know, our brotherhood, I'm not going to reference some joker that I know is not got the same interest in we have in things. So you start bringing these people together just to have conversation. We've said this on several occasions, right? This is a vision, dream, goal of mine. Your own community, where everybody that lives in that community is a friend, right? I'm talking about, you know, true associate, colleague that you actually have a relationship with, other than, hey, how you doing, Bob? And, you know, you just see him at the community meetings. If we start growing our communities from the ground up, right, with real friends and associates, slowly but surely you can empower your whole community, right? If you think about some of these people, I'm just going to throw some names out there that I see out here that I follow and listen to with excellent information. Love these gentlemen. You know, my man, Dr. Umar Johnson, right? What's my man, the brother Islam,
Rizza Islam,
Reza Islam, like that brother.
Wall Street Trapper.
My man, the Wall Street Trapper. Who else is out there, man? That there are a lot of people listening to.
Know Your Leisure.
Yeah, the brothers from Earn Your Leisure. So all these groups, I could give you a list. I'm just trying to go off the top of my head. But at the end of the day, imagine if them gentlemen came together. And I know they have their specialty doing what they're doing. But just to sit down and have discussions about building economic power. Not charging somebody, but just, hey, man, I've got, for me now, right, 3 sons that are grown men that have their own children. I now have a total of 9 grandchildren, right? 5, boys and 4 girls. So that's another generation beyond my sons that I am putting energy into, because I want to see them take this family further than I could, right? Because of when I was born, My parents came from the segregated, even though they lived in the North, they didn't have, unfortunately, the same vision that I had. But they came up at a different time.
Mm-hmm.
So now what I see is that if I feed my grandchildren the knowledge that I had never had, to show them how to work with each other, I would imagine 2 generations now that my family should be straight, living in communities as I just described,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because what we end up doing, as you said, people get their own following about me. I'm not an ego person.
Mm-hmm.
All I know, I just want to see us do well as a people,
Right.
right? I know this here. Someone that's not good for me, whoever they are, regardless of their ethnic makeup, I'm leaving them alone.
That's right.
People that bring positive energy into my life, I'm not a racist. I know a clown when I see one,
Right.
right? All I want is positive energy. There's
That's
nothing wrong with being culturally different.
Yeah.
I don't got a problem with a community that doesn't look like me, that have their own thing,
Mhm.
right? Because we live on a planet that culturally people are different.
That's right.
But humanly, we're the same,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So, and I know it sounds simple, easy. People are complicating stuff with competition. But for us as a people, why we're still on the outside looking in makes no sense, right? Not to slide off of the political side, but just take, for me, LeBron James, as a young man, seeing this kid go from all this height, he's lived up to the expectations as a player. You could
Mhm.
deem him better than Mike, all that, that's irrelevant.
Right.
I seen this young man with coming from a single mom,
Mhm.
who it looked like he was going to crash and burn like anybody else, because that's the expectations of a lot of our young men. That young man has exceeded that. Now he has a son.
Mhm.
Whether you think his son's good enough to play or not, that's regardless. The
Right.
young man is, if he earns his keep, he'll stay in the NBA. If he doesn't, he'll fizzle out like any other player that don't have it. But I hear people constantly having negative statements about the young man.
And I always say this too, brother, about that same situation, is that when we look at every major sport, is that if the father had a son, he could have been a coach, he could have been a bench player, he could have been a water boy, he could have been cutting the grass, he could have been any kind of thing a part of that organization.
Right.
He brought in his son. His son could be now the head coach. His son could have made it to the GM. Son probably played no sports whatsoever, but now he's in a position of making decisions.
Right.
And we don't even pay attention to that.
Right.
And like you said, to your point, here it is, a brother, first one to ever have an opportunity to play with his son. Son played basketball, his whole life. He had a hiccup with his health condition, okay, but he still had an opportunity to get his son in the league. I want him to be successful. I want him to make every dime he can make,
Right.
okay, because so many other organizations and team sports have done that for other people that don't look like us, and it goes underneath the radar, and we don't even have those kind of conversations. We're not even talking about those folks. We only talk about each other, because when we talk about each other on the radio, on the TV, or like you said, who's better, LeBron or MJ? Who's the best boxer? Who's the best this? Who's the best that? Do we ever have any of these other groups of people talking about that?
I know I
Never.
don't. Nope. Nope.
Never. It's always they know exactly what buttons to push to have me against you. And we still keep falling for the okie doke. When we gonna wake up? You know what I mean? This is real simple. I mean, the play is still the same play. Okay, they're using the same pawns in the game. We just keep falling for it time and time again. Everybody wants to compare the next player or the next athlete, the next great entertainer, but we don't compare them to any of those. When we could look at ESPN, they got a guy on there talking about quarterbacks, game of sports, bad football, Dan Orlowski. He played in the league 12 years. He didn't start 4 games. How do you play in the league 12 years? You don't start 4 games, but now you an expert on football. You know what the next quarterback should be doing. If you played 12 years and you didn't have an opportunity to start, you were able to hold a clipboard. You held the clipboard for a certain reason. And it had everything to do with the color of your skin and not your performance on the field. Point blank. Let's be honest. It couldn't have been me or you. We don't get those kind of opportunities. But that goes untalked about. But this person's now an expert making millions and millions of dollars talking about what the quarterback that's playing today that you have none of his skill sets whatsoever should be doing. And we again, we I don't know, it just burns me to no degree when I see these things and we don't have these kind of conversations.
And think about this too, bro. If you do go back in time, this is before us. I'm a say follower of the Marcus Garvey,
Mm-hmm.
understanding when he was doing his thing to bring people of color together across the globe, right?
Mm-hmm.
So just think, he came from he was an immigrant from Jamaica, came here,
Right.
and his goal was to bring black people together. Good.
Mm-hmm.
That simply put, bring us together, and we become this economic power that he knows that we are, and let's be great because of our history. That's the kind of person he was. But he got here, and there were already groups assembled. W.E.B. Du Bois had his following.
Mm-hmm.
Marcus was actually a fan of Booker T. Washington.
Mm-hmm.
So Booker T. and W.E.B. were kind of opposite. Then you had A. Philip Randolph, who was real big in the what do you call it, the blue collar workers union. So that gentleman, because he had a larger following, the government conspired because they understood that Marcus was actually the most dangerous out of all, because he was bringing everybody in. He did not isolate or ostracize anybody. He said if you were an uneducated black man or educated black man, we have the same concern.
That's right.
Right? We're going to lift everybody up. The other groups, just like, and anybody that doesn't like this, it is what it is. When we join certain groups, right, that says you have to be this and that and the other to be a part of it, when it comes to the sororities and fraternities, and they use the term Greek, I know I'm a black man, right? None of my relatives, unless somewhere down the line, I don't know, somebody might have come from Greece.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what Greek people are. We create these organizations during that time. They, like I said, separated themselves without being able to come together for a common cause. When are we going to change that? Right? Because at the end of the day, there's nothing wrong with competing, sports, winning. But when the game is over, we sit down and let's break bread. Let's discuss ideas that build us all up.
And be able to give something back to the ones behind us. Like you said, you mentioned you got 9 grandkids. You know what I mean? Like, what are we doing? I mean, is it just all about what we can accumulate? Things? Because when I think about, okay, we mentioned briefly about Puffy. I could mention a lot of people. We can go from Oprah Winfrey down.
Mm-hmm.
What businesses do we own in masses that we're employing masses of people outside of the time in which we had BET, or we had the brother that was out of Baltimore. I think he had soup business. I forgot his name. Well, anyhow, where are we employing masses of people?
Yeah.
Because now all I hear about, I got the biggest house. I just bought somebody's house. I spent 18, 20, 40 million for a home.
Yeah.
I got a fleet of cars. I got 100 cars. I done spent 200 million on jewelry. But where are you replenishing the money that you spent?
Yeah.
When your playing days or your acting days or your singing days are over, to still live that lifestyle. Yes, Reginald Lewis, right? He employed thousands of people, and where do we get lost? I mean, I know they sit back and they just lick their lips like, man, they sure are on autopilot. We got them right where we want them to be, giving us back every coin that we give them for their service.
And the thing that we've got to learn to do is to unify. There's a bunch of history out here, a lot of discussions me and Amir are bringing up at the moment, of historically where we've gone wrong, right? With all of this social media, 24-hour connectivity. So you can run 3 shifts of, I'm sure some people out there have heard of a mastermind group, right? You get people that just discuss ideas. You get somebody to document the ideas. Then you streamline the ideas of which ones make the most sense. When it comes to popular culture, we are the major influencers of popular culture, right? So when you were speaking of what Jaylen Brown's getting ready to do, right? This man turned down $50 million. Now most people, wow. But he understands, I create my own brand. sign my own athletes, because most people are buying the sneaker or the shoe because you're following the athlete.
That's right.
No, right? When we were young kids, I was a big fan of Dr. J. I couldn't wait.
Mm-hmm.
My first pair of leather sneakers were the leather Dr. J model of the Converse. I wanted it because of Dr. J. I played basketball. The sneaker didn't make me play any better. Right? Look at pictures of Will Chamberlain, Bill Russell, Bob Cousy, Oscar Robertson. They wore those same Converse you see today, and they set records.
Right.
So we know it ain't the sneaker, right? Don't get me wrong. I like a nice pair of sneakers on my feet. I understand the support of the ankle, this, that, and the other. But if you don't know now, you got no-name shoes that give you the same support as the name shoes.
Right.
We got to get out of supporting brands and people that don't give us anything back.
That's right.
Right? At the end of the day, I don't have nothing against Michael Jordan personally because I don't know. But I know this. If I'm Michael Jordan, I'd have a youth center in every major NBA city. And what you see when you fly over that city, you see that Jumpman logo from the sky. Every major city, every ball player that ever played high school level, rec ball, we know about all the legends from street ball. I'm going to employ as many of them as I can, trying to help them help others.
That's right.
Okay, that can be done tomorrow. How much money you have when you die, you ain't taking none of it with you. Right?
So you came here with nothing, you leaving with nothing.
Right. So imagine if Mike opened up a youth center with computer literacy, libraries. As you can see, me and my brother here with the books. You should have a library in your house.
That's right.
You know what you should give your children for graduation? Give them a small starter library with books you know that are key to life.
That's true.
Okay? At the end of the day, in my opinion, and my brother, we're doing it wrong. We could do better. Of course, we're not these celebrities that 8 million people jump on because they just want to hear what you got to say, but I know what we're saying is real. Right? And back to, like I said, Jordan, not harping on him, but imagine tomorrow he can go to every person that he does business with. Say, I need these youth centers open tomorrow. All these young kids standing on the block, if you are a man of color, when you go into the hood, you see brothers just standing around, smoking cigarettes, smoking joints, passing bottles. That means we're wasting a whole lot of time doing nothing. The kids in the neighborhood that don't know any better, they just see you. Unfortunately, we kind of glorify that hood mindset, right? So we give the gangsters these names. You know, the character that Denzel Washington played was a true story about Frank Lucas. Okay, American Gangster. Everybody here, we love the gangsters. But if you know the true story, these men had horrible lives. Okay, maybe they had money, but you got to look over your shoulder every 5 minutes, and then you can't pass that wealth on. So we got to do better.
Absolutely. Well, listen, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Wake Up Everybody. Make sure that you go visit www.goldenmoringa.usa.com for all your herbs and www.goldenleafteas for all your wild crafted teas. Until next time, peace.
Peace.